I want to demonstrate for you how the auto start stop system works in the new T680 Next Gen with the updated dash, the updated front end. We made a video about how it works in the old one. It just looks slightly different in this truck, and there's one difference about this truck from our previous video that I wanted to highlight in here. So I'll run through everything as quick as I can. It's a brand new truck, still has the plastic on it, so that's great. We're getting it fresh off the line. This is a 2023 Kenworth T680 Next Gen. So to get the auto start stop system to work, first, key needs to be in the off position. If you're used to a Freightliner, that's totally different. Then you come over to this switch. You're going to push and hold it up. Notice how that switch turned red. And we're going to watch and see what happens here on the dash. Once everything starts to turn on, it's almost like you turn the key on. Then you can let go of the switch. You don't have to hold it up anymore, but you do have to press and hold it up for about 3 to 5 seconds. Now it takes a minute for it to do all of its checks, so I'm going to sit here and wait, and I'll fast forward through this, but don't be discouraged if it's taken a little while for this to boot up. It does take some time, and then as it updates, we'll resume the video. Let's watch and see what happens. Okay, so very interesting. So see how this icon comes up. This says that the auto start, it is enabled. Now what can be a little confusing for people is sometimes it doesn't always turn the engine on right away. And sometimes people get a little discouraged by that. But what it's doing is it's detecting certain temperatures and determining if it needs to start or not. So it's still on, it's still active, it'll start when it needs to. I've been playing with this morning and it's warm in here, so that's probably why it's not turning on right away. So I wanted to make a quick jump in my video here because everything looked like it shut down, right? But eventually things click back on, and now it started doing this countdown timer where it's going to start the engine. The reason is because it sat there for a minute, noticed the temperatures of everything, and then it realized it needed to start up in order to stay within the parameters that had been set. So you notice the icons over here telling you that it's going to start up. Obviously it just fired up. So a couple things to know about how to use this system and everything. It will gently take itself up to 800 RPM, which is normal. If you're in a pack car, I think it goes to 900 RPM. The book recommends that you run the HVAC on auto. You can move your temperature wherever you'd like, but it recommends that you put this on auto so that way it can adjust whether it's going to use heat or AC, and then you just adjust the temperature so that it can take care of things like a thermostat in your home. One other thing that I'd like to point out is back here in the sleeper, because I'll put a link to my old video, but I don't have the optional controller in this truck. If you do have the optional controller, you need to watch my video because you need to match the controller up with the controls up there. This one I don't, so I don't need to worry about that. Instead, because I don't have the controller, it just says turn on the override button, and then you can still have some control of things back here. Like if I turn these up, I don't know if you can hear that, but it does work the fan back here, and I think I still have control over this. Now you can also use your S-bar heater at the same time. That's totally fine. And so you can use that. In fact, I would recommend it if you do have an S-bar heater, enable it, because if it's enabled, the S-bar heater, which is really good at keeping a consistent temperature, will keep the truck warm, and then the truck will just keep the batteries charged. And then the truck won't start and stop as much. It'll only have to do it if the batteries get low. If you rely on the truck only for your heat, it'll start and stop regularly throughout the night, which tends to wake you up more. Now, if it's summertime and you're trying to get AC, well, that's what you've got to use. But that would be my recommendation. Use the bunk heater if you've got one. Lean towards that. Okay, so that's kind of an overview of those controls. Let me point out one other thing to you here in the book, and I'll take a picture of this so you can see it. But there are parameters here because this system monitors the engine oil temperature, the fuel temperature, and the sleeper air temperature. And these settings can be activated or deactivated. You can pause the video and review some of these when I show you on the picture here how some of these work and the run times on how all that works. But there are parameters. I would recommend that you grab a hold of this little manual here if you're trying to use this system. But that's been generally how this system works. You know, it'll give you these warning lights. And one other thing we should cover is the horn. Now, I don't know if this one's gonna do it or not, but in the old trucks, there was a weird rule if you activated this system and the door's closed, when you go to bed, when it goes to restart, it won't honk the horn. But if you've activated this system, you've opened the door, gone in the truck stop, and then you've come back, then every time it starts, it will honk the horn. So I recommend that when you activate this system, if you leave the truck, turn it off and reactivate it once you know you won't open the door again. Otherwise, it will honk a horn, which is terrible. It honks your horn in the middle of the night. It's not what you want people noticing or having happen in the truck stop, right? So that's just a really weird thing. That's also in the manual, so just be aware of that. Everything else looks pretty good. It doesn't wake you up. This system's better than the old one. On these new trucks, it didn't let all the bells and whistles go off, which would wake you up when it tried to start it. This one just had a couple dings that were pretty quiet, so I really like that. Hopefully this is a pretty thorough explanation, can help you understand why the truck's doing what it's doing and you know how to use this system. When you're done using it, it's just real easy. You just flip this down and that will shut everything off, and then you're disabled. Piece of cake. Okay, the new next gen auto start stop system. Not too bad. Well, I hope you found this video really helpful. If you want to, click right down in here. This is the subscribe button. That'll give you more of our helpful videos. And then after that, come over here and click here for more of our videos. Remember, truck drivers are American heroes. Let's make truck drivers great again and keep on trucking. What this system does, and I'll include a screenshot of this, if you look in the manual of how these things work, is it can monitor three things. It can monitor your engine oil temperature, your fuel temperature, and then the temperature within the sleeper. And depending on those settings, it will start the truck or shut it off. And when you look at this picture, you can pause the video and take a look at some of these parameters that are customizable in here. So once you've got it running, the things that you need to control are, say, like the sleeper controls.